Evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. Welcome back. I'm not in the man cave tonight. It's far too cold out there, and I'm too tight to put the heating on. So I've moved into the warmer climes of the dining room for this show. I'm joined by an illustrious panel of guests, as ever, to break down the City debacle and to talk about the breaking news that Fabio Paratici must get the pronunciation right because Brendan's on the show. And he will definitely pick me up on it. And he's been drinking all day, so he's no doubt going to be a bit leery with his very small beer glass. um,
He's got very big hands, Gordon. Very big hands.
Fabio Paratici has been banned from all football, and we will talk about what that means, all football in Italy. Moving forward, HG, how are you, sir?
Actually, it's a Friday night, and I was watching. It was a bit boring, so I thought I'd do the show instead. It's always good to talk Spurs.
You are still slightly breaking up. I'm sad
All
to
right.
tell you. So I'll let you play with your wires while I introduce Mr. McGurty. Mr. McGurty, there was a carnival in town today. How was it?
It was good. Yeah, it was fun. Got down there about 10:30. It was very very colourful. It was the African sort of influence of Brazil. It was a candomblé carnival as opposed to a Brazilian carnival. And without getting too far into it, but yeah, it was a beautiful cultural event. I got very pissed.
Okay, so is it basically just an excuse to get pissed?
That was my excuse. There were people there with other intentions, but mine was just to get pissed.
Good. Keep the comments coming in. I can see we've got some channel members in the chat, and shout out Dave Harris, banged up abroad with LFAB. Love it. JP, how are you? How is Australia today?
I've been better, I won't lie. We were
What's up with you?
Out of the O's Open last night, and the last couple of days I just get to wake up to absolute misery piled on me by Tottenham. So there've been better days, but we'll break it all down.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know the feeling. It's my birthday today. The kids have conspired as much as possible to ruin it for me as much as they possibly can. Literally terrible. But we digress. Let's talk about other terrible things. First of all, if you're not already a Patreon, do consider subscribing to our Patreon service. It's there, patreon.com/Cheese Room Podcast, where there is exclusive content, prizes, discount codes, our own chat group for match day action, merch as modelled there by Davo, with Levy laughing at him, which I do like. And obviously, fancy football, obligatory, all just £3 a month, loads of extra content. JP's got it on as well. Yeah, rock it, JP.
There you go. And our Cheese Room mugs, all part of the Cheese Room merch. Get around it.
And the ticket exchange is very useful as well. Sorry, Brendan.
Sorry, jumping. Do you remember that scene in Ghostbusters when they pull out the mug and they get the balloon? Do we have a balloon? Like the Ghostbusters had a balloon. Can we have a balloon?
I can't see really why not.
There might be black ones going spare in a little while. It would work.
Yeah, your audio is still choppy, HG. It might get better as we go through. It sometimes does. I want to talk about the game, but first of all, Mr. Fabio Paratici has been pronounced guilty. So there we go. Serie A prosecutor has ruled that Juve will be given a 15-point deduction as part of the Plus Valenza case. Capital gain violations. So there you go. And as part of that, Paratici has been disqualified for 2 years. Sanction valid England too, although it hasn't. There's conflict about this because there we go. There's some clarification. Suspension is not valid as of England today, as the official says, temporary inhibition for 30 months to carry out activities, blah, 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 blah. Now, you'd think with all of this, there'd be the appeals process as well, wouldn't you? So this could drag out for years, no doubt. Probably longer than he'll be at the club, Brendan, would you say?
Yeah, it remains to be seen what the outcome is. It's news to me. But yeah, what were the charges? They falsified accounts to make the accounts look better? What are the charges?
HG's the man to ask for. He'll know. He reads every bit of detail.
that, like, I mean, I don't know every bit of detail. Like, apparently it was to do with money laundering or some kind of. They were just cooking the books a little bit so that they were able to sign more players and do things that maybe they shouldn't have
Falsifying
been able to do.
figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, in what way particularly Valenza makes it sounds like, plus like they've been doing something with their Valenza, whatever that is. But yeah, it's a bit weird that if it had been, I mean, let's face it, if Paratici had been really good for Juventus, then he wouldn't have left the club in the first place. He wouldn't have been able to leave it to hire him. So I suspect that knew that something was up and they tried to get rid of him
Mm.
before the club went down with it. And looking at the list of, I think there were 6 men that have been sanctioned in this way, and uh, and Paratici has got the longest ban of them all. No one else is anywhere.
Mm.
I think one of them might be for 2 years, whereas
Mm.
he's 2.5, and some of them are just for 8 months. So you suspect from that he was the ringleader of it. But yeah, it doesn't look good.
Um, JP Paratici, you a fan of his?
Look, when this all came out and it looked like Paratici might get a ban, and even if he still does, I'm sort of neither here nor there on it. Like he's done all right for us, but to be honest, when Daniel Levy came out the year after that debacle with Mourinho, and you know, and said we're going to go back to our DNA of free flowing attacking football, and then he installs Paratici as the director of football. Immediately,
Mm.
you knew it wasn't going to go down that way because that's just not who
Mm.
he is. So at this point, and kind of with what else is going on at the club, I don't. We're due a reset anyway. If he was to leave, whatever. It's pretty much
The,
my level of blasé with Tottenham right now. Is just
yeah.
whatever. Let's just burn it down and start again.
The word of the street is that Conte was also implicated, and they did consider banning him from football management. But as he's put a self-imposed ban on managing a football club right now, they didn't bother.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good.
Hey. Thank you,
And
Dave.
you could almost say the same about Paratici signing players, can't you? Does he do anything? Is he still even employed by the club?
Jumping
Yeah,
in, is this something where Brexit can play in our favour? Like, if we could say, well, the UK is not part of the European Union anymore, so
true.
wherever your laws are there, I don't know. Like, just try to find some ray of sunshine.
I don't see how it could extend to the UK anyway. We're not governed by Italian law, number one. Um, power to the people, Brexit, and secondly, it's something I didn't vote for, by the way. And secondly, which if you did, that's fine, but you made a big mistake, and you should consider your life choices. But second, I don't care. I don't care. It's my birthday. That's what I like. But secondly, unless FIFA or UEFA are going to like take action, then I don't really see what we have to worry about, apart from maybe a bit of a reputation tarnish. And let's face it, I don't think that really matters right now, does it? So,
Well, I think the recommendation was that UEFA do look into the matter. I know they probably will, but even for then, it's going to be another year before they get around to that, and
yeah,
who knows where we'll be at that point. So I don't see it functionally affecting Spurs, other than maybe taking some focus away from Paratici. Not
we don't sign players anyway, do we? Let's be honest.
Like to
So
me,
who's
it just feels as if, like, if someone got a ridiculously long ban as a player in England
mm,
for something they did in England, well, that wouldn't be held up in any other league around the world unless UEFA or FIFA got involved. Otherwise, like when Cantona got his 9 months, I totally remember Man United saying, "Well, maybe we can loan him somewhere so he can play football for a bit." Those, and then suddenly UEFA said, "Well, no, yeah, quite, yeah." But FIFA are like, we're the corrupt ones, so we'll have to get rid of
mm.
Juventus, because they're trying to, take our thunder. But yeah, like I suspect it will go to UEFA. But you guys are right. Like, it will take forever. By the time this actually gets decided, there's a good chance Paratici would have been sacked anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, ultimately, he could be rehired as a consultant, couldn't he? Worst case scenario, or something. I mean, there's ways
Yeah,
around it. I'm quite sure.
does Paratici have a son or a brother? I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure if they really wanted to find a way around it, it's not
Mm,
difficult. Oh, we've got this Icelandic guy. Um, he's already at the club and he just does Paratici's bidding. I don't know. It seems
It
pretty
sounded a bit. It
unenforceable.
sounded a bit like Fabrizio Romano. We like this player. This player is good. Yeah. Not going to go on that train. Anyway, shut up, and move on. Okay, I hear you say. So yeah, keep your chats coming in. Smash the like button. 80 odd people watching already. Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in. Do hit the like button. Really helps us out. Let's talk about before we talk about the future of Spurs and what kind of crisis we're in next. Let's briefly, and I mean briefly, recap the game from last night. Did anyone think we had a chance of being 2-0 up at half time prior to the match? Any of you?
I did. Because it'd be the most Spursy thing ever. We'll lose to Arsenal and then beat City, so Arsenal get an even bigger lead. Of course we were going to be beating City at halftime. But I think what came next was probably more surprising.
Yeah, well, let's recap the goals. Let's recap the goals briefly. First one, I thought Edison had been taken over by the spirit of Lloris, Brendan. A howler, really.
Absolutely, it was great to see other goalkeepers mess up and not just our own, and it work in our favour for once. It was beautiful, and Kulu, like, he still had to find his place. Like it was. I know it wasn't exactly the same goal that he scored last season against them, but it was that sort of angle to it, like towards that side.
And a tap-in,
yeah,
really.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Just sort of focused on it and went between the defender's legs last time, and this one sort of went between the keeper and the defender. But yeah, he loves a goal at the Etihad, doesn't he? Love him.
Does seem to. And then the second one owed a lot to. Keep your Paratici comedy coming in. We'll shout the best ones out. Paratici, the new GM for the cinema. I do like that. I'm surprised that's you, John. I thought Davo would have come up with that, to be honest. But there we go. And then the second goal. Who thought Emerson Royale with cheese would be on the team sheet? HG, did you see that coming?
I had him in my team, so yeah. I mean, I wasn't that surprised, but it's.
Well, no. Did you see him scoring?
Oh, did I see him scoring? No, but that's what, 3 goals now for Spurs. Not bad for a fullback in a half. I just no. It was surprising that Edison lobbed it up straight at him, but I suppose if that's what you're there to do, you can nod it in. It reminded me of Crouch's goal way back when, where it kind of came up off the keeper and he was just there. And yeah, I definitely screamed. I couldn't believe it. 1-0 was felt shocking enough, and then just 2 minutes later, wait, there's a second. They're only Spurs,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can't knock Emerson for his performance last night. Like, the team wasn't great, but the rest of the team maybe sank to his level, so he looked better. I don't know, but yeah, it was.
Kids in bed. I laughed. I laughed when that goal went in. I couldn't. I sort of. I yelped and then laughed. I was conscious I had to keep the volume down of the celebration for fear of upsetting everybody in the house. But then when I saw who it was who scored, I couldn't do anything but laugh, because it is fairly laughable, isn't it? He doesn't often get into those situations. He played all right last night. And you're right, HG, you did call him in the starting 11. So did I, to be fair. And I called Perisic in, but he had an absolute shocker. JP, what's going on with Perisic down that left-hand side? Because as I think Adrian's pointed out in the chat already, at fault with 3 goals. Well, a bit of a mixture, really, of accountability, but certainly he could have done a lot better defensively.
I actually thought partway through the first half, I was going, geez, actually Perisic is doing quite well defensively here. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, I knew what I'd done. Look, we knew when he came to the club that the defensive output wasn't what we were buying him for. And last night really, we never showed that up, really. I don't know whether I fully put all of the kind of focus on him. I don't know how, at fault, I'd say yes, definitely for 2 of them and maybe for 1 of them. But I can't just say he was the reason we lost that game. We were pretty poor for about 70 minutes. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Second half capitulation. Brendan, talk me through it. How are you feeling at 46 minutes?
Well, yeah, it was all about that first goal. Once that went in, like City, it was only going to go one way. City had that momentum. The second goal, I need to sort of work out why that was on Perisic, because I don't know if it was him that was challenging Mahrez for the header across to Haaland. But yeah, it was just, you could see it happening, and we had to do something. We had to react. We had to like foul someone, fake an injury, a bit of shit housing, change it up. Like we said yesterday on the pod, right? The first goal goes in, right. Let's try and do something to react. He didn't react, and that was why we capitulated, because they were sitting ducks. They weren't given any support from the bench, and Son was a passenger. Perisic was ghosted through for the first goal. So it was. You're making a G&T there. That's very nice.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it was
with my butt plug glass.
You could see it happen. You could see it coming, and we didn't respond. And that's on Conte. Conte's lack of game management is what cost us yesterday.
Wait a second, Brendan. You cannot blame Conte for anything. It is all Daniel Levy's fault. Always, no matter what
he
happens.
hired Conte.
Nuno, Levy's fault. Right. Mason, Levy's fault. Mourinho, Levy's fault. You know what? Ramos winning a trophy, Levy's fault. All Daniel Levy.
It's definitely Pochettino. He was his fault as well.
Yeah.
100%. JP, you were going to say something there before HG jumped in.
Oh, I can't remember. I just got caught up in everything being Levy's fault now as well.
I mean, look,
don't forget actually that Conte did say as well that he's trying his best, so he can't be at fault for anything.
E for effort.
you have to.
I just think that, like, even from the beginning of the game, though, like this set decision that this is the way we're going to play, like Arsenal, 2 in the middle, didn't work. City are the same; they play the exact same way. Like.
It hasn't worked against any of the big 6 clubs, has it?
No. It maybe that year when we played Ndombele, Celso, and Ndombele and Winks. Winks, Ndombele, and Delhi was the one time it maybe worked against Liverpool.
It's Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
But other than that, it's never worked. So I don't understand it. I'm done. I'm honestly done with it.
Done with everything, to be honest.
We were in that game. We were 2-0 up. We were so in that game, and you could see the lack of reaction. That's what cost us. Like we were seeing them. We could see it coming. After the first goal goes in, and yes, Hugo, what was it? Twice, 2 goals he cost us. The near post one for the third goal, but it was inevitable. And you want to see a response from the players and from the bench when it's not working. So
that was just made me giggle.
As much as we talk about like what's gone wrong between the end of last season, where we were, maybe not free flowing, but we were scoring goals.
Sorry, JP, that's not made me laugh as much as this. Who wants to take that one?
The simple answer is Stelios and Henry Wright can't tie their own shoelaces. So, no, of course we're not paid for. But you think Levy has the time to listen to any of these things and then decide to I'm going to sponsor one of them. I'm going to make sure they get out. Give over. This is absolute idiocy. But we've got to expect it from those two.
Also, if we were getting money from Levy, wouldn't this be a lot more professional?
Be in the cinema.
It's that Spurs play you want to have a go at. He's getting us mixed up with Spurs play. That's what it is.
Engage the brain. I don't get it. Like there is literally nothing about us that says we're paid for by Levy, apart from the fact that Stelios doesn't like us, and that's it.
Stelios could have an argument with himself. Honestly, he took a glass eye to sleep about. Boys,
you'd better be careful, because if we say too much, he'll get all our addresses and put it all over Twitter.
That's true. Yeah, he did do that. Yeah, he did put.
Didn't he?
Address
but we don't talk about that. Surely, if we were paid for by Levy, we would talk about that. Oh no, what have I done? I've let the cat out the bag. Oh, Oh, there goes my. Well, Levy's pretty. He doesn't like giving money away. So there goes my £3 a month that he was been paying me. But
I have heard this nonsense before. I also heard him go off on this channel before, which is hilarious about not calling Enoch out, given we'd just done a show and half the panel had called Enoch out. So
I know.
right on point. Anyway, there you go. The news is out. We are not funded by Daniel Levy. That would be good.
But beware, if you do cross Stelios, he will put your address on the internet. He will put it on Twitter. He will do that. So we can't cross him.
Only if you're
we're all
female.
scared of
Only
him,
if-
really.
Only if
Yeah.
you're a young female. Yeah.
Only if you're a young female.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we're not female. That's what he does. Oh,
And
that's
if
the
you challenge
problem.
him in the stadium like Shan did, he'll probably run away.
Oh yeah, he did that as well, didn't he? Oh, gee,
He did do that as
okay.
well.
Yeah. So
Change
Brady,
subject.
it's not true, mate. Brady, in case you haven't figured that out, it's not true. We're not paid by Levy. Of course not. If anything,
it.
Stelios is paid for by Levy to try and disunite the fans with all his bollocks.
There you go. And you can find him at Harlow Globetrotter on Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the game.
None of it's true. Obviously, none of it is true. You know, Stelios was just going through a troubled time when he did that. I'm sure he's over it now, and he would never do it again. Never. Until the next time.
Yeah, true. How's Hugo? Let's get back to the football. How's Hugo Lloris still in the team? HG, let's stick with you for a second because you're on a roll.
Because Conte thinks he's the best person for the job. Simply, I mean, some of us would disagree, but he thinks that Hugo is still better than Forster, so he's going to play him. He's done the same with Son all season, so it's not that much of a surprise.
Brendan, your thoughts on Lloris? Should he now be dropped? I mean, you called it in the summer, to be fair, didn't you?
Well, I did. I said it was a position we needed to look at then. After his arm went the other way against Brighton, we needed to look at that. But every big team have two good goalkeepers. Liverpool have Alisson and Kaflafferty, the Irish guy with the blonde hair. I can say that because I'm Irish. And City have Edison and Stefan still there. They always
Ortega, yeah.
Okay, they always rotate the goalkeepers. They have top quality goalkeepers. So I think in Conte's mind, he doesn't view Forster as a competition for Hugo. And there's obviously the legacy as well. Hugo's sort of, as we have with Son, he's too comfortable. And there seems to be a reluctance to mess with it. But we have to. These players aren't performing. And a good manager that understands the team, that understands the momentum, would have changed things by now. And he hasn't.
But Bryn, to cut you up, to go on Dan's point, it's not the manager's fault. It's all about Enoch. Enoch and Levy, they need to go. All right, Dan, done it for you.
To be fair, Enoch haven't addressed the situation of the goalkeeper. They haven't had that forefront to look at it, that wherewithal to think we need to plan ahead. We got in a cheap option, and the manager doesn't trust that option. So it is a bit on Enoch in that we haven't invested in a goalkeeper properly in 12 years. That is on Enoch. So again, it's something that we needed to address, and I would have preferred us to go on for Pope, but Pope obviously got offered more by Newcastle, and he was offered. Obviously, he was guaranteed to start.
It's the first team football. It's the first team football, isn't it?
And as
That's
a goalkeeper,
the reality of it.
Yeah, as a goalkeeper, you don't sign to be a squad player unless you're quite happy to take a wage. No goalkeeper worth their salt is going to say, you know what, I'm going to join Spurs, and then in a year, once I've got used to the surroundings, I'm going to be the number one. It's ridiculous. So when Spurs do sign a new goalkeeper, it will be to replace Lloris. In the same way, we replaced Friedel with Lloris, even though at the time no one was really saying, it needs to happen right now. We knew it was going to happen. But he came in and he spent, two months kind of being the number two for a bit before he took over. And Friedel, I expect, was okay with it. There's a good chance that Lloris would be okay with it if it was to happen, because he would know.
He should be.
It's just, the question is, when do you do it? And it looks like we did it a little bit too late.
Yeah,
We tried to do it with Galini, though, didn't we? That was the idea, that Galini was going to come in and prove he was good enough to take over from Leeds the following year, and he wasn't. And so we got rid of him. And we're like, we'll give Lloris a new contract then. It's just poor scouting and recruitment that's holding us back from doing the things we need to do. Not acknowledging the facts.
And Hugo is our club captain as well. Sorry to jump in. Hugo's our club captain. His quotes today or after the game yesterday was shambolic to try and pass the buck from his mistakes. He said, "Oh, the one against Saka, there was a slight deflection. It didn't make any difference to the direction of the ball and the position of his body. That was an error. That was his error." And for him to sort of start to say, "Oh, these deflections are costing me," it's almost like he's trying to pass the buck to the defense. And it's just like, can you understand why the defense don't trust him? He just spreads uncertainty through the defense, and it's a big issue for us.
It feels as if, sorry, JP, like if Spurs had come out and said, we think Pope is better than Lloris, Pope would have signed for Spurs over Newcastle. I've no doubt about that. But for whatever reason, we didn't think he was. Right? We didn't think he was. Or because, that contract extension for Hugo basically said, we don't think we can get someone better than him, so we're going to extend him. That was it. And had there been a place for Lloris to go, or had there been a keeper that we thought was better, we'd have made that change. But the people in charge decided that we didn't, and he's had a bad 6 months.
I mean, Fraser Forster's not a bad keeper. In fact, I draw your attention back to Spurs versus Southampton last season at the Lane, where he single-handedly saved the game for Southampton. We peppered that goal, and he was immense. And he was pretty, we had a Southampton fan on the show earlier on in the season when we were doing the match preview for Southampton, said he's like a brick wall at times. You can't get past him. He is a good keeper. Like, there's no reason in my head not to drop Hugo Lloris right now. And that's on Conte, isn't it? Because Levy don't pick that team.
Also, to jump in, the game against the Goons, like they drew. I think Chelsea, Arsenal, and Southampton drew, and he had this amazing. I think it was from Saka. He just dived across. He had a worldie against him, and that was only last season. So he does have this in his locker. Yeah, Conte just doesn't fancy him. Sorry to jump in.
No, it's absolutely fine. Similarly, Son Heung-min. Let's talk about Son for a minute because. You heard my views on this last night on the podcast. If you haven't already checked out the podcast, do get over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, download it and hit play, hit subscribe because you won't regret it. The best Tottenham Hotspur podcast in your ears twice a week. I've got to be honest, Son for me was a big problem last night and has been a big problem all season. But if you look at what was happening on the right-hand side of our defence, Emerson had a good, solid game. But in front of him, he had Kulusevski, who kept dropping back to help out Emerson. On the left-hand side, what was going on? Perisic is he's a winger, really. He can't tackle. And then you've got Son. I didn't see Son help out once defensively. And yet everything comes through that left side from them. Mahrez had him on toast, didn't he, HG?
Yeah. But we know this with Son. Son's not defensively aware, doesn't really want to be. Doesn't really know what to do there. And as you said yourself, Perisic is a winger who plays wing-back, someone that Conte didn't think could play wing-back, sent him out on loan to Bayern Munich where he won the Champions League, and then he came back and played wing-back and won the league. So he can do it, but it's all about that Inter Milan side had 3 central midfielders that would control the ball. So really his job was to attack. He wasn't necessarily there to defend. I find it interesting that I've said this on previous shows that the opponent, in wingers, whether it's Saka or Mahrez or whoever, they stay. They go towards the centre back. They're not worried about Perisic at all going forward because they know they've got someone there. So it's not even a Saka versus Perisic thing or a Mahrez versus Perisic thing. Perisic is there to go forward, and with Longley or Davies behind him, that would be enough. But it seems as if we have decided, no, the wing back has to take their winger, and it doesn't suit anyone to do that.
Problem, JP, for you, and would you do this? Would you drop Sonny for Richarlison ASAP? Because I don't know about you, but I said this on the podcast last night. For me, halftime 2-0 up, Conte is absolutely guilty of piss poor game management. Like, he does nothing to firm up the defence or the midfield, literally nothing, and we got overran. And for me, Son was a massive part in that. Now, if you put Richarlison into that position, he works a shitload harder defensively. which, if nothing else, is going to really help out the fullback. But what do you think?
Brian Hill's going to do more work on that left hand side. He'll get knocked off the ball, but at least he'll run into spaces and like be a nuisance. I mean, without saying that we should be playing with three in the midfield because that's clearly a better system, and that for the last 3 seasons, Son even really hasn't been a winger. He's been more of a striker, so he needs to be playing more centrally. He botched it at halftime, and I just think he's playing Son out of position. Son needs to be near the goal, so I don't necessarily blame Son for not tracking back. That's what he's been told to do the last 3 or 4 seasons, but we're not getting the best out of him. So change it up. And I do think that like swapping Son for Richarlison, if you're going to play a 3, needs to happen because Son's form is so bad right now. But I actually think even if we're playing with 2 up top at the moment, that Kane and Richarlison is probably the better combination. You'll get more out of both of them. So, yeah, I think Son's time, I mean, I don't want to say sell him because he's been such a good servant for the club and hopefully this is just a season thing. But, if we're talking about, Kane moving on at the end of the year, do we still have Conte next season? Maybe we do just kind of rip it up and say, okay, let's start from scratch. We've relied on you 2 for a long time. Thanks for your service. Let's go with something different now.
So just a quick thing as well. The Son's best performance this season was against Leicester. He came off the bench. Why are we not starting him on the bench? But why did he not take that set sign to say, well, maybe I should start him off the bench? Sorry.
I will say, I think that is Sivsky was injured for 2 months. And one wasn't trusted, and Lucas, I don't know, Lucas has been up to. So we had 3. We had Richarlison, Kane and Son, and he played 3 because Kulusevski was out. And then, so Son's because they fit almost a couple of games for the World Cup. But pretty much for most of the season, Son's been fit, and one of the other 2 hasn't. Richarlison or Kulusevski have been out. So you've kind of been left, like if you wanted to play a front 2, like Richarlison, it was his first game back for Spurs since the World Cup. So you'd be thinking, all Kane and Son, they partnership as a front 2. But I feel like that's the big the thing at the start of the season was Richarlison had a couple of times. We got that assist up at Forest, and he helped turn the game against Chelsea. And so it was okay, well, Richarlison, but he took Kulusevski out the side, which hurt everyone because Richarlison is a right winger, and Kulusevski was fit and not starting, and so you just thought, well, we've made our first, and I think that's been the issue. This idea that at the beginning when Son wasn't performing, I mean, Kulusevski wasn't playing badly, but we decided to go with the new guy, and Richarlison never played on the right hand side. For Everton, it was always as the number 9 or as on the left cutting in. Like he is to me that he would do those 2 positions. Bergwijn did. He wasn't bought to play on the other side. We were looking at Zaniolo for I don't know how many years. So and Malinovsky and all these people that were looking to play on the right and that were left-footed. It just seems madness that we are where we are. But a lot of it is down to the choices, sadly, that Conte has made with the options that he had.
That's my point. In that game against Leicester, Richarlison was struggling. He couldn't. His build-up play was awful. He was not getting into the game. Son came in. He saved the day. And for confidence players like Son to be given that mission, right? Richarlison's had a stinker. Get out there, do your best, save the day. And he did. He scored the best hat trick I've ever seen from a Tottenham player. So for players like Son that have this confidence issue, to just start on the bench, fine. Just take it easy. Let's let the other players have a go. You come on. If it's not working, you come on and see what you can do. Go out there and save the team. And for him, he had that responsibility and he took it. And for me, that's why I don't understand why for the last 15 games where he's only scored 1 goal and has 1 assist, that he's not at least benched him a couple of times to play that role. Like you said, injuries have played a part.
But I mean, the injuries have only played a part because we've stuck with 3-4-3. If we'd gone to 3-5-2, then you wouldn't need to do it, and you'd have someone attack on the bench to maybe come on and change things up. So it like you can say he's out of form, you can say he's played out of position, which I don't believe he's suited to Conte's doing things at all. But you find a way to maximise what you can get on the pitch, and 3-4-3 wasn't working, and 3-4-3 with Son definitely wasn't working. So switch it up. I don't see it as being that revolutionary to have said, you know what, We'll go 3-5-2. We'll play Kane plus Son, and we'll say to Son, you can be the focal point. You can run off the backs of defenders. You can push the centre backs further up, kind of towards their own goal because they'll be scared of your pace. As it is, he's got his back to goal when he gets it. Kane is closer to goal anyway, and so we're not helping ourselves at all.
And this is my biggest frustration with Conte. We knew coming in that he was stubborn and that he needed a lot of money. But the thing that everyone kept saying was he's a great coach. He's a really great coach. He'll improve players. He can manage a team well. Not seeing any of that. At this end of last season, there were a few players that he'd improved the performances on. But maybe that's because they were just really shit the 6 months beforehand. And now, I can't think of anyone at the moment that has improved on last year. And when we look at the system, it doesn't work. Everyone around us can see what we're doing wrong, but he's decided this is the way we play, probably because he thinks if he can get Son playing well, then he can also get Kulusevski in the team and Kane, then that's our chance. But it's not working. So change it, and he won't. And I just think, I don't know if he's done or he's just never faced a situation where he's had to adapt before, but there's a massive flaw in him as a manager right now.
It's definitely Agent Conte destroying us from the inside, isn't it? When myself and HG spoke to Fabrizio Romano last January, actually, he was adamant he'd be playing the three midfield system. It's just never happened, has it?
To see what Adrian says there, there's something to that. Apart from he's just had 4 weeks with players who weren't at the World Cup to try and improve things. Like I understand we played a lot of games, and the best run we had under Conte was when we didn't have any other games. Right, we were out of the FA Cup last season. We only had league games to go for, and we won 7 out of 9 or something, and we managed to pip the injury-to Arsenal to get there. Right, so I understand that, but I also think that part of me thinks there aren't too many coaches that really do improve players. A lot of it at the highest level seems to. I don't think he improved anyone. I think he just said, this is what you're good at, so I'm going to build a system that makes you do what you're good at. Kyle Walker's never been able to defend. Danny Rose has never really been able to defend. But their job wasn't really defending. Their job was to bomb forward and provide the width. Even if they were just that old kind of table tennis game, they just keep the ball in at the sides of the pitch. That was their job. They didn't assist very often. Sometimes Danny Rose scored, but Kyle Walker never did. But they were there to provide kind of the structure. You had the back two that knew each other really well, and we had a strong midfield, and we played high up the pitch. So Vertonghen and Alderweireld didn't have to do much apart from mop up when the ball did get away from us. The fullbacks could bomb forward. It allowed Dele to kind of run wherever he wanted. We had the structure to do that. It allowed Eriksen to be creative wherever he wanted to go. Our front three or front four was super flexible. We could do pretty much. There were times when Eriksen was the furthest forward or Dele was the furthest forward and Kane would drop back. But it was all based on the structure of the team. I don't personally believe that Pochettino said, that Danny Rose has been rubbish. I'm going to make him a better player. Because if he made him a better player, Danny Rose would have been a better player once Pochettino left. But that never happened either. So it seems to me that at the highest level, if you can't go out and spend 50, 60 million on really technical, fantastic footballers that Spurs haven't been able to do for various reasons, then you've got to build a team, right? No one looks at Fulham or Brighton and says they've got some fantastic world-class footballers, but they have a team that functions and works together, right? And then they get their big move somewhere else like Cucurella, and he looks garbage. Why is that? You ask those questions. I don't necessarily feel like there are many coaches out there that actually improve players in the Premier League. At this point, it's mostly tactical, I think.
I think this is a good point. Alan Thompson makes, who is our resident Geordie. Before I do that, I've got a very important nudge. My two chauffeurs, Sean and Steve, are watching. So, hi guys, thanks for taking me to the football all the time. Beachy, it's your turn next time, I'm pretty sure. Lads, it's our defence is not the best on paper. Pope, Trippier, Botman, Shah, Byrne, but they've been well coached and and this is part of it for me, isn't it? Everyone wants to moan about what we haven't got, but we're not making the most of what we have got.
Yeah.
Would you not say?
Which is the coach's job. That is
which is tying into your point.
Yeah.
I I mean, like,
And
I feel
the
that.
point about
Like,
3 days, sorry, the point about 3 days as well with Conte, I would say that's not an excuse. That's a black stain against his resume. Is that everywhere he's gone and won things in major leagues, Juve, at that time they were kind of in their pomp and they're winning everything, and the rest of the league was kind of way behind them. Inter, they kind of hit when Juve were having a bit of a down transitional period, and they still are, and AC weren't really about at that time either. And then Chelsea, every other team was in transition except for Spurs. Um, and they just kind of made it happen. Like, it wasn't a huge points total they ended up winning with.
Mm.
And they had no European football at all. So he had a week every week to prepare his team.
True.
yeah.
All
I mean,
true.
it just feels. I mean, to go back to the Newcastle point, like, I don't think Dan Burns got better individually. I don't think Fabian Schär's got better individually, or even Kieran Trippier. But they are in a system that works for them, right? Dan Brighton have played wing back, so play left back was perfectly fine. It's almost like a three centre back at times, but it works. Like, I believe that couldn't win a game under Steve Bruce that are still there are now the. Like, is Eddie Howe really teaching Miguel Almiron to beat three players and then find the top corner? I'm not sure Eddie Howe was capable of that. So to me, it's a case of you build the structure and you say to Miguel Almiron, look, your job is to off you go, and now he's thriving. I don't really know if there are top level managers like Klopp will for his system and Pep will buy for his system. But like if those players that did really well go on somewhere else, will they be as good in a different system? I think that question is still out. There are very few players was okay at Basel, was awful at did pretty well in Italy, and then became a superstar at Liverpool. But is that because Klopp was telling him what to do? Or did Klopp say, you are perfect, I want to do what I want my team to do, and we will pay the money to get you? Same with Van Dijk. Like, Van Dijk at Southampton was okay. Like, but we all remember that goal when we went there, and like, was it Kane went through, or basically by himself, hopeless. But you put him in a system where, you know what, your job is to be 6'5", is to be fast, and it's just because we're high pressing the whole. It's the same with Vertonghen now. Van Dijk +1 is enough for the defence Liverpool need to do. Now they've lost that high pressing machine, they need more goals. I don't feel as if Van Dijk is a better or a worse player. His strengths magnified.
Still having a few mic problems there, HG, which is a shame because I was really enjoying what you were saying. Yeah, so we've covered Sonny, we've covered Lloris, centre backs. It's just a comedy of errors back there, isn't it? I mean, what is our best back three? And who are we going to sign? Who are we going to sign to sort this out? Are we going to sign anyone this window, Bren? What's your thoughts? I need to get ice and more gin. So you're going to have to keep this one bouncing back between. Take some questions. There's plenty of people in it. There's lots of this, which is lovely to see. I agree with you for what it's worth. So yeah, do that, and I'll be right back.
I've been suckered in by the Guardiola rumors. I know it's just some random guy on Twitter, and it's not like there's no concrete. But for Levy, like the only way he can save face and recover from where things are now is if he drops 100 mil on Guardiola, and we get him because Madrid are in for him as well. The thing is, he has to do it now, and Guardiola's not going to move from Leipzig during the January transfer window. But yeah, the defense, it's so crazy because like end of last season, that was our strength. We weren't conceding goals. We weren't conceding shots on target. We were compact. There was a plan, and that's all gone. It's I just don't get it. And these players haven't changed. Like Dyer has been a seasoned pro for 10 years now, or like 8, 9, 10 years. And Romero, a quality player. Ben Davies, in that system, he worked. But for us to be, like, I think we're the fifth worst team in terms of defense this season, which is crazy. And the other four are all in the bottom 8, apparently. It's mad.
I think part of that as well is like Hugo behind them copying as many kind of blunders as he is probably not giving the defenders as much confidence. But also they're probably looking at what's going on ahead of them. And because we've been so toothless offensively, there's probably a little bit more pressure to go and attack. I could kind of understand that if we were seeing more progressive output from them, but we're not even seeing that. So I don't know what's going on. I think to HG's point, so much of a team is yes about structure and building a team that or building a structure that gets the best out of the qualities that the individuals have. But so much of a player doing well is about confidence.
Yeah.
And at the moment, there is no confidence around Tottenham as a football club. We don't know what's going on with, there's noise from the fan base about Levy and Enoch out, which I'm sure gets through to the players at some level. I don't know how much they pay attention to it. But then you also know what's going to happen with Conte next year. And we've had a couple of bad results. And you've got players who, despite players who are in the starting 11 playing poorly, still can't get in the team. You've got him coming out and saying, we need 3 or 4 windows. We're not in a good way as a squad. There's none of the conversation coming out of anyone's mouth is going to give confidence to anyone. So how can you then expect players to go out and perform front foot, aggressive football with confidence and play well? We're just not supporting that environment right now.
Exactly. And that's where I think people like Eddie Howe show their skills, because Eddie Howe looks to me like a motivator. He looks like a young Harry Redknapp, but with the tactical nous as well, not to slag off Redknapp's tactical nous, but he looks like a throwback in a way, in that he does instill confidence. He doesn't throw the players under the bus, because all we hear from Conte is, between the lines, my players aren't good enough. And for them to hear that week in, week out, like you said, just destroys their confidence. And why would you want to bust a gut for a guy who doesn't think you're good enough? Who every week just says, oh, the reason we haven't done well this weekend is because we've not had a 60 million player come in. It like you said, these things matter. And I don't think Conte gets that. I think he is a bit of a throwback like Jose, in that he doesn't understand that you do have to have the arm around the shoulder still these days.
More these days. I think that's the point, is that it's more these days. I think the generation of player that the Joses and the Contes could inspire by, abusing, are kind of gone. The new level player needs to feel loved and needs to feel like they can go out on the pitch and they have the backing of the manager and the manager loves them and they'll play again next week if they don't do well. And I don't think you get that, particularly for the young kids who are trying to come into the team. If they don't score and keep a clean sheet, they're not going to play this year. So I think there's not enough confidence that we give our players to go out and do the things they want to do well.
And we touched on yesterday as well during the pod about the personal grievances that Conte has passed through this last 6 months. I think October was when Ventroni passed away, and Mihailovic, and now Vialli. So that must play a huge part. He is human. It must play a huge part on his demeanor, on his interaction, on the camaraderie among the squad, which is important. And so we can't ignore these factors as well. He's in his 50s, I think, and to lose 3 friends, close friends, in such quick succession, that would throw anyone off. That would make anyone feel a bit down. Like, you can't smile, you can't make a joke, you can't G up people, because it's on your mind all the time, and I don't think we can ignore that.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, if it was me, if I had the money that Conte did, would I really be driven, like, to get up in the cold English morning and do these things that he's to do, to play games every 3, 4, 5 days? Like, I get it's a lot of money, and so obviously motivation, but I think the more money you have, the lesser motivation it is, right? And so he doesn't need it. He's probably looking at, I think he's got a wife and a daughter. His daughter's probably getting to 19, 20. He thinks, if she goes off and gets married in the next 4 or 5 years, that will be it. I want to go and spend time with my family. I wouldn't blame him. I'd probably do the same, and I'm a Spurs fan. So I just, you have to imagine it plays some role. Like, obviously grief happens to everyone in different ways, but with the high-powered pressure you're under, I can get that, maybe. I mean, we saw what happened to Redknapp when the thought of the England job, what happened to him. This is far. So, as much as I don't agree with some of the things that's happening on the pitch, I get that there are possible reasons for it that they're affected by who or any.
So just to give you all a question here and now, where are you at with Conte in, Conte out? JP, we'll start with you and work our way around.
I'll go back. I wasn't big on his appointment to begin with because I didn't think it fit where we were told we were heading as a club. But he's here and I want him to work. As long as he's here, I want him in because in means Tottenham are doing well. But if he was to turn around tomorrow and say, you know what, this isn't for me anymore, I'm gone, I wouldn't be heartbroken about it. I'd be okay, cool, move on, next thing. But no, I still want Conte to work, and I still want him here next season.
Bren.
Similar. I think if the players are still bought into him, then I want him to carry on and succeed. My concern is that the players have switched off, that the players aren't responding to his instructions. And when that starts, there's only one outcome. So I want him to succeed. He is, I hate to use the word, elite. But let's get start with GoFundMe with Mr. Levy to get anyone.
Levy does not sponsor us. Levy does not sponsor us at all. We've got to get that out there again.
He can't even dig his wallet out. He can't even get his wallet out for the transfer window. The poor old cheese room's got no chance whatsoever. Yeah, sorry, Bren, you were saying.
I was saying I want Conte to succeed. My concern is that it's too late. That he's already, again, to use a cliche, lost the dressing room, downing tools, those sorts of the football cliches. That's my concern. If that's happened, there's only one outcome. You need to move when you can't win a whole squad round. We can't change the full. Chelsea are trying to do it themselves. You can't change a full squad in such a short space of time. So I'm Conte in, but if the players aren't in, then I'm out.
Brendan, this is about the same time, roughly timeline-wise, that Jose got the sack, about a bit over a year into his time with Tottenham. You more Jose out at that time than you are Conte at this point?
Yeah, I was more Jose out then, because with Jose, they clearly had checked out the players. Now, the performance against City wasn't that bad. Like the first half wasn't that. It was individual mistakes which cost us. So I'm not as Conte out as I was Jose out. Jose had clearly thrown him under the bus too many times. Players are like, fuck this guy, I'm not trying for him. When that happens, there's only one outcome. So I'm more in Conte now. Sounds weird. Than I was Jose.
Yeah, because I think the football is as bad, but you're probably right. I don't think the players are as sold out on Conte.
I don't think the football was as bad. I don't think the football was worse under Jose. I'd say so.
I agree with Bren on that.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with Bren on that.
There's 220 watching, only 57 likes according to John. So if you like this debate, if you want to hear more, do smash that like button. Costs you nothing, takes a second, means the world to us. HG, Conte in, Conte out.
It's funny, like if Conte went and signed a new deal, having this conversation, right? Because for a long time I said, well, Conte's not committed, why would we commit? Football's bad and we're losing games and we feel as if Conte is not doing the plan. So we might still be having this conversation. But no, I'm not Conte out at all. I would like to see us get better players. I would like to see him improve too, right? Like it's not just the players are the problem. Everyone needs to do better. But there are still competitions to play for. Like we got to a Champions League final with Winks and Sissoko in our team. I'm sorry, weird stuff like that can happen again if it happens once. So Conte, let him do his thing. If he's not interested, if he zones out, it will become apparent and our results will be just as bad for the rest. And we will struggle to finish top half. And if it happens, then okay, you sack him in April, May, when Champions League is no longer a possibility, and then you move on. But until then, I'm definitely not Conte.
And I think you have to stick with him this season because I don't think it's likely anyone's going to take the job on who you want long term immediately, and they need to have a good long think about what they do want. Fundamentally, I've called for Edic to leave and to get new investment or new owners, but in reality, that's intertwined with Conte's future, isn't it? If Edict was to suddenly tomorrow sign Vardiol for 90 million, etc., I think most fans would be very happy. They'd be back on side. But I just don't see Enoch doing it. I just generally don't. And I say Enoch, not Levy, because I think Levy's hands are tied to a certain degree. And I think we do need more investment in the club. It's just, I can confirm that this one definitely isn't true. But if he wants to, I'm open to a sponsorship deal, to be honest.
Double check your mic, caller. Double check your mic, caller. Just double check your mic is plugged in because it sounds like you're using the audio from your laptop. Double check the mic.
Okay, I have just double checked it. It looks all right. Weird. So yeah, I just think that I don't really understand where we're going as a club, and I think the trust statement asking for clarity over direction was bob on in that manner, but we're not going to get an answer on it for a period of time. So a very long-winded way of saying, I think Conte in until the rest, he finishes his contract at the end of the season, then we see where we're at. And he is a good manager. He is an elite manager. They've got to back him in this window with a couple of players, which we're coming on to in a moment. But breaking news, apparently Levy supplies JP with caps, which would explain a lot, actually, because you do appear to have rather a lot of them.
I've got like maybe 5. I feel like if Levy was to have a lot more. And none of them are Spurs related. Though he would make me pay for those.
No. Well, look, we've got Fulham on Monday.
Can I just say, you talk about like the chair, like a statement. Like I might be wrong, but I'm pretty certain whenever we release actual results, there's usually some kind of statement there. Like it's the one that Levy gave to say, we want to appoint a manager who is, in line with the values of the club, although no one really knows what of the club. Is it the value of fans? Do you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those vague statements that can mean anything to anyone. But I do think there's usually something there. So when those are released in February, then there might be something there about what to do. But I think we've seen that young players in the last couple of windows, right? There is a relatively obvious plan as to what we're trying to do when it comes to the squad kind of makeup of it, whether there's a team, well, that kind of, and so we have to figure out that, like to me, you're willing to, was it 30 million quid plus a player for Pog? Suck it up and spend the money up. If you loan someone out, Spence out for 6 months, you might get half of that different, right? So to me, like if Chelsea were willing to pay 11 million to Felix plus wages, like there's a lot that would help cover the cost of the difference. So I get that it's in that area, but it's just we are aware, and whatever statement from Spurs will be the usual vague.
Mike is so bad, Bernie.
While I'm talking. Look, it's right here. It's right here. Can we now? Look. All right. Well, if it's that bad, bye, guys.
Are you leaving? He's staying. He's gone. He's literally done a mic drop. He's gone. Yeah. Look, I think the reality of where we're at, as I was saying, Enoch have had their chance, and if they don't back him in this window, it's only going to get louder. And then you're going to get the end of year results published in March. By the way, they're always published around about March. I think there's only one team that have issued now, so there isn't some conspiracy theory around that. It's just that's the way they are. But they are going to be good. They're going to be good, and they're going to be even better next year with Champions League football in the accounts. So
I think there's a lot of talk about this transfer window, but January is never the transfer window to judge transfer strategy on. It's the reaction window, right? So if they publish good results, which they will in March, then there is zero, if we think it's toxic now, it's going to be toxic come the summer transfer window if we get a month in and we've not signed a player for more than 15 million.
Yeah. There you go. So you can't argue with that, really, can you? Can't argue. Yeah, look, we've got to sign some players, haven't we? We've got to sign some players.
Yep.
Let's talk about who is on the agenda, and then we'll briefly touch on Fulham. So transfer links. Firstly, what is going on? We're 2/3 through the window. There's 11 days of the transfer window left. Right, Brendan, I put it to you. What on earth is going on? Gooners have signed 2 players today. Man United have signed Weghorst and Butland on loan. Okay, probably not that great. Liverpool have got Gakpo. Chelsea have signed 42 players and counting this month so far. And even Wolves and West Ham have signed players. I think Wolves have signed 4 players, I think my dad told me earlier. We've signed no one. We didn't sign anyone until the end of the window last January when Kula and Bentancur came in. Do you feel that we're really helping out the manager with the current transfer policy? And I'll be right back.
Yeah, just refresh call if you can. Yeah, it's always the way with ENIC. It's always been the way. So we're kind of used to it, kind of numb to this strategy. In the games through January are always a bit shaky. You kind of like because the players that are playing may not know if they're going to be here. Like players like Doherty or Royale or Dyer or Davies. Like these are players that are playing regularly, but are also the players that we're kind of looking to shift out as well. So for that mindset to be among the squad can't be good. So yeah, it's always strange with ENIC at this time and during this window. And yes, obviously we would like to be more decisive in the window, but this is not the way we do things. So we kind of have to accept that and see where we are at the end of the window. We saw an upturn like at the end of the window last year. That was when we sort of kind of clicked into gear. Obviously, yeah, we had Kulusevski, we had Bentancur come in, great players, but it wasn't just the injection of those 2 players that gave the squad that focus. And so I think that with the type of manager, the checkbook manager that we know that Conte is, at the end of this window, I think we will see an upturn in form, an upturn in determination from the players. And but during January and the games that we've been given, 2 against City, we've got the Goons, Fulham, it's not going to be easy. We should do Preston. I'm going to judge us at the end of the window because that's always when you have to judge with these things. How about you, JP?
Yeah, it'll be the same. It's just painful walking through it. I think the thing that's the most painful for me right now is that not, who are we going to bring in, even though that is baffling because I don't see us bringing in Porro, and who else are we being linked to with any degree of realism? The thing that gets me is, well, we clearly need a new right wing back, and there's zero talk about any of our existing right wing backs going anywhere. There's, we'll loan out Spence. But
who wants him?
If we're only gonna do our business in the last 2 days of the window, gives us no time to get people out the door because we're not going to do that before we bring someone in. So there's just nothing going on. And a lot of talk about we're trying to do player plus cash deal. There we go. We're back. Yeah, a lot of talk about us trying to do player plus cash deals with Emerson Royale going the other way, but who are those players we're trying to bring in? It feels more like we're just going to clubs that maybe had an interest in Emerson and seeing what they've got. And at the same time, he's the right wing back we're actually playing. So I can't imagine what Conte makes of all of this as well. So it just feels a mess. I want to believe there's a strategy behind it and that we've got a plan on who we're bringing in, but you just can't see it right now. And I think that's the most frustrating part.
Hello, I'm back.
Sounds a bit better.
Yeah, it's Apple AirPods, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, the Pro mic is in the man cave, and I didn't have time to resurrect it into the dining room. Sorry, with the lead piping. Yeah, where were we?
Talking transfers, Porro. Every time I hear Porro, I think Hercule Poirot. I think that he's going forward. He looks superb. And again, to drop in a Sandro anecdote, when we watched the Sporting game, he did that. The only player I remember him pointing out as being any good for Sporting was Porro. He said the manager was good. I think he's mates with the manager because he used to play for Benfica or something. The manager says quite well known, and Porro was the player that he said was Sporting's best player. So there's clearly talent there, and yeah, like I said, there's this crazy and it's every year, it's every window, the crazy sort of back and forth, negotiating over 5 million here or there. Chelsea have just gone out and bought like One Direction. They bought like 12 players. You know what I mean? Like to watch them go about their business just makes us feel jealous. We were talking about it yesterday, wasn't it? Like the envy that we have of seeing teams just go out and just slap the money on the table, get the player in, job done. None of this faffing about. We are such professional faffers.
It's awful.
To be fair, like if we paid 45 million for Porro, like, I haven't watched too much of him.
It's 45 million euros, JP.
Euros, yeah, but it's still.
So really, what is it? 38 million quid. It's not a lot of money.
That's basically Decky money.
No, it's not. Decky's 45 million.
Yeah, after add-ons and whatnot.
Well, no, it's 45 million. That's his release clause. 45 million euros. I'm saying that is not a lot of money in today's market. It's 38 million quid for a right back. But he's a player that ultimately Conte wants and will make a difference to the team.
Does Conte want him?
Yeah, exactly. Does he? How do we know?
I'm not convinced he does. He doesn't really fit the physical profile of a Conte wing-back.
He's fairly stocky.
Yeah, but he's
short.
He is short.
But if you put Pedro Porro and Jed Spence next to each other, and he didn't have any other players, and they were just there when he arrived at the club, he probably looks at Spence and goes, "Yeah, you'll do." But we know he's not playing Spence, so.
But is that it? That can't be it. It can't be just Porro that we're going after. That end of the window. If all we get in is Porro, and even if we don't get him, it'll be uproar. Like they have to do something.
Let's talk about the next one then. Zaniolo, or however you say his name. Zaniolo. Do you want him, Brent?
Again, I don't watch too much Roma, but he's got nice tattoos. He's got the weird sort of line tattoos, which everyone loves out here. The RGs love it. But yeah, we need some creativity in midfield. Like the West Ham have gone and bought Paqueta. Man United have got about 10 creative midfield. They've got Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Ericsson. So we do need more creativity in that part of the pitch. So yeah, get him in. Let's move. Let's be proactive.
JP, what do you know about this player?
I think in the summer we talked about him, and I said no thanks, but that's because I think we were talking about him more as that attacking midfielder type, and I saw him as more of a right winger. But we do need a right winger, and I think we've kind of identified that's the position we're going after. So as backup for Decky, yeah, go get him. Just get it done.
David Raya, Brentford keeper. Apparently he's only got 18 months left on his contract. He's available for around 20 million. Is he the replacement you want for Hugo, JP?
It feels like a summer deal if it's going to be done. I wouldn't mind seeing him. I've seen him a few times and he's looked all right. Of all of the keepers in the Premier League that we've been linked to, the strongest one seemed to be between him and Meslier. I would much prefer him over Meslier.
Brent?
Yeah, Premier League experience. And the thing is, we don't need to put all our eggs in that basket. Let's get a couple of keepers in. 20, 30 million each. Give them a run out. Try some in the league games. Try some in the cup games. See which ones come. Let's not. This fixation on Hugo has been crazy. So yeah, get David 20 million. Get him in. He's the Spanish sub goalkeeper. Although I'm sure Galini was the Italian sub goalkeeper at some point.
Pretty sure he was. Yeah.
But he's Premier League proven. And
Galini could rap as well. That's what you need to remember.
Can he rap? Can he rap? Sure he can. Yeah. But yeah, get him in. 20 million, just do it.
I mean, I don't suppose he'll be available in January, if I'm being really honest. But I think it's what you say, JP. I think it's he'll probably be one for the summer. I don't think we'll see a different keeper this side of the end of the season. But we ultimately need one.
What's on him? Sorry, he made the Spain squad ahead of De Gea. So, just point
Is
out.
anyone upset about Trossard going to Arsenal? Apparently, they paid the release. Well, they paid what Brighton wanted, which was about 21 million or something. And we offered 4 million on a bag of Skittles. Another example of our shit transfer policy, by the way, because again, 21 million or whatever, it's nothing. It's peanuts in the scheme of Spurs. So the fact that we made a bid for him tends to suggest we wanted him, unless we've got a bit of a scattergun approach again.
Yeah, I didn't really want him because I thought if we were getting Trossard, it was at the expense of someone who's better played on the right, and he's going to play left, which, hey, maybe we're going to drop Son, and that would have been great. But it would be him or Richarlison who's playing, and I'm kind of neither here nor there on him. We needed more creativity, not another kind of just Son-type player, which Trossard is really.
I didn't even know he was Belgian until the World Cup. I was like, oh, that guy from Brighton, he's Belgian.
I didn't know.
And he played shit as well. So, yeah,
I didn't know McAllister was Argentinian. I thought he was Scottish. As I'm sure a lot of people did, whether they want to admit it or not. Craig's throwing some names out there. Oblak, Destiny. I mean, Destiny's already here anyway. Bastoni, Skriniar, Romero, Porro will do nicely. Oh, I see your name again. You backline. Of that, how many are realistic, Bren?
Well, Destiny, we've got Bastoni. Bastoni depends on Conte. Conte goes, Bastoni's not coming. Skriniar, I'd take Guardiola over Skriniar, but then I'm probably talking
Guardiola's
fantasy
a much
there.
better player than Skriniar, but you are in fancy land. I saw that tweet and I thought there is.
I'd take Messi over Hill, yeah.
There is absolutely no way on God's green earth we're paying 90-something million for Guardiola. No, Brendan.
Well, we haven't
you've been
spent on a
sucked in.
defender. When was the last time we spent? Well, yeah, it would have been
Romero, 60 million,
yeah.
What's your
So
point?
Romero, Skriniar. I think Skriniar's gettable, and he's good, Skriniar. And I base this on the fact that when you watch like Inter games, they have those big banners, it's like bed sheets like sewed together.
Yeah.
They had one with Skriniar, so he's sort of seen as like a gladiator there at Inter. So
he's a unit.
He is a unit.
You can't argue with that. He's a unit. But again, I mean, I think this is the point, and Craig's hit the nail on the head. He's going to PSG.
Actually, who's the goalkeeper at PSG who can't get a game at the minute?
Not Donnarumma.
Donnarumma, yeah. Take
Is
him.
it?
Yeah.
Donnarumma's in the team, isn't he?
They've got Donnarumma and
Navas? No.
Keylor Navas, isn't it?
Seriously?
Yeah, and Navas was keeping it. At least when Poch was there, Navas was keeping him out of the team.
Poch don't know what he's doing there, does he? Let's be honest. So yeah, I mean, Bastoni's probably not. I think he's the one we'll move back for and spend big money on, but can't see it, to be honest. And then this name, agents thrown out there, has been rumoured as well. Hincapi. Bren, sounds like an exotic name you would be familiar with.
It does. I'm fairly sure he's European. I don't know if he's South American. I'm googling him right now to make sure. But he's a name that's always been around. So where does he play? Was he at Sevilla? Where does he play? He is at Bayer Leverkusen. Okay, he might even be South American. He looks South American. Where's he from? Oh, he's from Ecuador. Okay.
Great song.
So I've ruined myself with my sort of knowing everything about South America because I live here. I should know everything. Ecuador, they were there at the World Cup, weren't they? And yeah, Ecuador, like solid defensively. They were terrible going forward, but solid defensively.
This is the best analysis of a player I've ever heard. Where's HG? Why did your mic have to break, HG? You're the man I need in this scenario. But no, I know he's been linked with us a lot. I mean, there's a few names: Andy Booth, Brian Nelson, Dave Harris going out there. But surely, if you were to prioritise, Brendan, if you say we can sign 2 players this window, because I think that's all we will sign, what position would they be? You don't have to give me names, but what would you strengthen?
Centre back and attacking midfield.
Not right wing back.
Okay, so we've got too many of them already.
But they're all shit.
Play Spence. Give it a go.
No,
everyone's saying they're all shit, but we haven't seen Spence play yet. Let's give him a go.
I think as well, if you get an attacking midfielder in, it takes a lot of that creative burden off of those the right wing backs to do it as well. So you can play Emerson Royale and just be more solid defensively. But I would agree. A centre back just feels like we're in desperate need of one at the moment, and a right wing back because he won't play Spence, and an attacking midfielder because he won't get the right one.
Okay. This question then, regardless of Conte, will Kane sign for next season? Well, he is signed for next season, but will he be here next season, I suppose, is the question.
All the rumours are 85 million and he's gone.
United.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to happen?
I actually think Newcastle would be a better move for him.
No. Newcastle are a few years behind United in the process. I'd say so, yeah.
I think
Newcastle are in a false position right now, but it depends how long they can hold that false position for.
But I think this false position is going to just catapult them, because I think they'll make Europe this season and they'll see it as next window, the window to really go big. And I think that'll mean they'll splash big next summer. And I think
they've got the headroom to do it as well.
Yeah, he won't be their first signing, but I think he'll see 1 or 2 players come in who actually this could be something. And I think
I think this is the nail on the head for me. I can't see Newcastle finishing top 4. I think they'll drop off. I might be wrong.
I think they will.
Kane's going to want to go to Champions League. I think United will get Champions League, and I think that's where we'll be.
Okay.
Personally,
but he is off. In response to the question, he is gone, and fair play to him, because obviously he wanted to stay. But we have had the best of Harry Kane, so wherever he goes now, they won't have the best of him. We will have had that, and if he wins a few trophies elsewhere, it will hurt. It will be horrible for us, but I wouldn't begrudge him that. Like, he's given us his best years.
It's going to be our record goal scorer.
Yeah,
Jimmy Greaves played for Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's
football. So. Like we've got like the 2 years ago when he didn't go to City and he stuck with us. We have to give him props for that. And
he didn't. Hang on. Whoa. Hang on. What? In his head, he had gone to City for most of that season.
But he didn't.
He only didn't because City didn't pay the money.
He ain't going anywhere.
No, that's the thing. Like, he sulked for a few months. He sulked, and we were the one of our own chant went to Japhet Tanganga in that City game so long ago that I was at.
Yeah.
So, but he came back and he's performed. We can't say he hasn't performed since he came back. He has performed, and he has given us service since he wanted to leave. He did want to leave, but he came back and he didn't just sulk. He played and he scored incredible goals, set up incredible goals. So it will hurt. It will hurt when he goes, but he will go.
He will.
And everyone's saying that, I won't begrudge him of a move right now. When he goes, there'll be half of Twitter burning shirts and having a meltdown. But I genuinely can't begrudge him a move at this point.
No. I don't think you can begrudge a move. He's given us the best. He's got a testimonial due next year, hasn't he? I think he's given us the absolute best years of his career. He deserves to win something. And right now, you can't see it winning at Spurs. But it's frustrating because I still only think we're three players away from a decent side.
Every team always is.
He's been waiting for years, though. He's been waiting for those 3 players for about 7 years.
But that's the problem, Brent. That's and that's why I've reached the conclusion that the ownership of the club's got to change, because we're never going to win anything with them in charge. Mm-hmm. That's the reality of it. The idea they had was to make the club self-sustainable, but we're not in a football ecosystem where that is now attainable. because the game has changed.
Yeah.
And
Was
if you
it
don't
Levy
move with
said?
the times,
Too many moving parts. When he was describing making a transfer, like doing a transfer deal, he said there were so many moving parts, and that applies to everything in business. You know, like if you stand still, people are going to overtake you. And he stood still. We haven't moved on. We haven't competed as a big club. And I'm with you. Like, God knows who will come in to buy the club, but that has to happen for us to succeed. It's not. We just keep doing it. It's Groundhog Day. Every couple of seasons, Groundhog Day. And I feel for players like Kane that have given their all and just haven't had the infrastructure to win stuff.
I keep going back to that. I feel like there's been windows where we've tried to sign and move forward. We're so bad at doing it. Like the Ndombele Lo Celso.
It's bollocks though, with all due respect, isn't it? Try to sign. Pay them what they want. Pay them what they want. Pedro Porro, he's 45 million euros. Just pay it.
I think that like that window we brought in Ndombele Lo Celso and whatnot, that for me was the only time supporting Spurs where I felt like, oh, we're going to do it. Like we've realised that it's not working. We're going out and buying the players we need. Those players didn't work out because we didn't do a component of the check, which was what's their personality like, not just here's a few good YouTube clips of them. And they didn't work out. But beyond that, everything has just been so crisscross, mishmash, different styles of managers we're bringing in. There's no strategic direction from the club, which just makes it impossible for, if I'm a player going, well, manager's going to be around for 2 years, and then what? You know, even if Conte signs a new contract, if I'm Harry Kane, I'm still not signing a contract. I'll see how he does at the end of my contract, and then I'll decide whether I stay on or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with this from Gov. Shout out, Gov. Kroenke and Co have spent no more than ENIC in the last 4 years. So what's the deal? The deal is we're at different stages of a rebuild and we've wasted money. And that is the truth of it. Spurs, it's not that Spurs haven't spent. They just haven't spent well.
Surely Arsenal have spent more. I don't know if they've seen this.
It depends what we know.
I'm sure Arsenal spent more.
I think it's up to this window that they hadn't
From
probably taken into account. Hey,
over the last I think 3 windows they've spent like 150 more than us. So it's probably not a fair assessment. When
That's a lot. Yeah.
But equally, I think the point is we've spent our money incredibly badly, which know. But for the most part, we have. I also think that it's the quibbling. It's missing out on Jack Grealish. It's missing out on Pedro Porro. It's the few million here.
Moutinho, remember Moutinho, the helicopter?
Yeah. It's all these little things that drive fans mad, and I think that's what it's got to change. Let's look ahead briefly to Fulham. So Fulham, obviously on Monday. How are you feeling about this one, Bren?
I saw Fulham in one of the recent games, and they look all right. So it's not going to be easy, and it's at Craven Cottage as well. As we've seen, Mitrovic didn't even play. I think was it United? Was it the draw they got against United? No, that's Palace. What was it? What was Fulham's last game? I was watching it, and Mitrovic wasn't playing, but it was Arsenal anyway. But yeah, Mitrovic. I don't know if he's back fit.
Top scorers, obviously. Yeah. Really key for them.
Palin is a quality player.
And head-to-head, there you go. We should be the favourites, right? We should be the favourites. You should feel confident about this one, JP, surely.
They've won 4 on the bounce.
Yeah.
I don't feel confident about anything. They beat this and they overtake us.
There's a form on the right.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, they have lost.
They beat Palace, beat Southampton, beat Leicester. All teams they should beat, to be honest.
Why should they? Hang on. They've just come up.
True, but they're all shit. And then obviously lost to Newcastle and beat Chelsea. Well, everyone's beating them at the moment as well. So I'm trying to sow some confidence here.
We should win. Everything about our squad and where we are as a club, we should win this game. But I have no confidence that we will.
Sorry, that was it. It was the Chelsea game. They beat Chelsea 2-1 when Felix was sent off. That was the game that I was watching. I was thinking it wasn't Arsenal, it was United. And our man Vinicius Jr. got his goal. Carlos Vinicius got his goal. Not Vinicius Jr. Carlos Vinicius got his goal. Did the celebration. That was fun to watch, but it wouldn't be fun if he did it against us.
The writing's on the wall for that one. The script's been written already. And they could bounce over us in the league on Monday. Worryingly, there's some good teams behind us, aren't they? Liverpool, 2 games in hand, 28 points, could catch us up and go past us. Brentford playing really well, Brighton playing really well. So it's worrying times, isn't it? It's worrying times, and let's hope we deliver. That's their sort of the most recent side. Mitrovic, Willian. Oh God, it's another transfer gone wrong, wasn't it? They just keep coming. So yeah, they've got some good players. That's the other fixtures coming up. How would you line up? What would you do if you were Conte, Bren? What would you change for Fulham?
We had to make some big decisions. The goalkeeper, I'd bring Forster in. Why not? Bring Forster in. He's probably going to switch the wing backs again, as he did from Arsenal. He switched from Doherty and Sessegnon to Ivan Perisic and Emerson Royale. So he's probably going to switch those again. The midfield too will stay the same. I'm hoping that he'd go for Richarlison over Son. Just try something different. But yeah, that's. I reckon it'll be very similar to what we saw against City, other than the wing backs.
JP?
I'd like him to switch the goalkeeper as well. I don't think he'll do it though. I'd see the same. Davies played the last game, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't play long lay. He can't play long lay.
No, not after that.
Not after that came out.
Yeah. It'll be the same back 3. He'll play Doherty and Perisic, and then I'd like to see Richarlison start on the left as well, and Decky and Kane up top.
I'd like to see
Højbjerg get a break and Basuma play with Bentancur, but I don't.
What about Sarr? Sarr instead of Højbjerg. He proved it against the Goons. He was our best player against the Goons.
He was.
Why not against Fulham?
I thought Basuma was bright but didn't do too badly when he came on against Man City.
Yeah. And prediction. Let's talk prediction. By the way, I'm going to say I would make sure Perisic stays in the team on the left. I think give him another chance, but put someone there to help him. I'd love to see Richarlison start over Son. I'd love him to change the system and put 3 in midfield, but I know that's not going to happen. So that's why I say just switch Son with Richarlison. Scores on the doors, Brendan.
Optimistically, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. That's optimistically. I think Pereira's playing really well, as is Palhinha. They've got really good creative players in midfield that we don't have. But I'll be optimistic. 2-2 draw.
That's optimism. JP.
I will be optimistic, and I'll say a 2-1 win. And Kane will surpass Greaves in this game. Both goals to Harry.
Okay, good. I'm going to say we're going to win 2-1. 2-1. Get your predictions in the chat. King Hoddle saying 3-2. Paz is saying 3-1. Sam's saying 3-0 Fulham. That's optimism. Keith is saying 3-3. There should be some goals in it. Just to say, by the way, in Monday's show, obviously this being Monday Night Football, we're going to move Monday Night Show to 10 p.m. straight after the game, and it will be a reaction show. So just so you're aware, Monday Night Show will be starting later than the usual time. We don't want to do a watch along because we'll be watching the game, and you can't really do one of those when you're on camera, to be honest. Not really a fan. But there you go. Craig saying 3-1 Spurs. Kerry's saying we're going to win 3-1. Brazen Bull's got the best one. Conte 1, Levy 6. There you go. Not even sure what that means, to be honest, but there you go. Right. We were going an hour and a half. Make sure you smash that like button. Brendan, thanks for joining.
Cheers. Just a quick plug for the pod next week with Gary Stevens and Tim Vickery.
Have you got Gary Stevens and Tim Vickery? You don't mention that.
I've been working months to get this bloody pod together because the Vickery and Perryman pod was so good. Just to sit there and watch them talk was just such a joy.
Fanboy.
So we're doing, proper fanboy. So do the same. Tim Vickery and Gary Stevens will be recording with video, but won't be live on YouTube. But we will post on YouTube and as a pod as well. We'll be out next Wednesday.
And even better, we've still got the Trust Issues YouTube to bang out this week as well. We've got it in the can, ready to go. We've just been doing so much content that we haven't. But there will be a video catch up with the Trust released shortly on YouTube. JP, thanks as ever for joining.
No worries. It's been fun to kind of break through my slow depression over the last couple of days. So thank you very much.
I'm feeling better already, and it might be the thought of Spurs playing Fulham and sorting things out on Monday night. It might be, but I have some weird belief that the club's eventually going to be sold, or it might be the 4 glasses of gin I've consumed. Probably the latter. Until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.